Okay, good evening and welcome to the regular City Council meeting for Monday, March 12th, 2018. At this time, can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Durossette.
Here.
Councilmember Lane is absent. Vice Mayor Kline.
Here.
Councilmember Ryno.
Here.
And Mayor Vierra.
Here. Next, we'll move to the invocation by Lauren Gregory from the Victory Church.
Everyone stand, please. Our Heavenly Father, we just come before you tonight, Lord, and we ask just for wisdom and for just to help us, Lord, as we try to decide the business of the people, Lord. Help us to always remember that is our job, Father, to serve. So bless this meeting, Lord, and let it be very fruitful. And we ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have no presentations this evening, so we'll move to citizens' communication to the council on matters not included on the agenda. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in City Council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes for expression of non-agenda items. Matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public. However, California law prohibits the City Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Citizens are entitled to address the City Council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on a non-agenda item?
Excuse me, Leonard Shepard. I just want to say, if we get 4 days of rain, it's a blessing. If we get 6 days of rain, it's liable to be a flood the way things are going. I don't know. But I have noticed something. Ceres has not gotten any prettier, rain or otherwise, because the citizens don't care. I've seen people throw stuff down on the ground. I mean, they get out of their car that probably has some way of putting garbage in it, and they dump it right on the ground in the parking lot at Save Mart or wherever they happen to be. And I did say something to one guy about, hey, you dropped some stuff. He says, oh, it gets people work. They go pick it up. Well, where in the hell is he living? Because I don't know of anybody here in Ceres that gets paid to go around and pick up after other people. But I don't know, maybe I'm just getting grumpy in my old age. But together we achieve sounds real nice until the citizens don't give a damn. And when the citizens don't care, we can talk all we want. When they don't stop to pick up a piece of garbage that somebody else threw down on the ground, walk by it, I'm getting tired of bending over and trying to pick up stuff from other people because it takes me a while to get back up. But it just seems to me our citizens really don't care. All they want is they got their hand out for something free. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Benziger can do a thing on the trashy side of Ceres, which is about every other street. You see stuff in the streets, on the side of the street to be picked up that doesn't get picked up. It's discouraging to me. My daughter lives in Jamestown. One day I drove through Jamestown. We were going up to see my daughter where she works. I drove through Jamestown. I didn't see a single solitary mattress or chair or anything else on the side of the street. But you know why? Because Jamestown is about the size of downtown Ceres. But people there give a damn. They care. Of course, their big thing is they don't want anybody else coming in, because they know the more rats you put in the cage, the more problems you're going to have. And I'm just to the point where I think Ceres has got too many rats. Rats don't care. So, but you guys, I know all of you up there give a damn about Ceres. The depressing part is that there's not enough of you. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak to the council on a non-agenda item? Okay, well, we'll move on. We have no appointments to boards and commissions this evening. Conflict of interest declaration. Is there anyone on the council that would like to declare a conflict of interest on any of the 12 consent calendar items, one new business item, or the discussion item? Okay, hearing none, we will move to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or the public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon by roll call vote. This time, is there anyone on the council that would like a consent calendar item pulled for further discussion?
Item 8.
8. Okay. All right. Is there anyone in the audience that would like a consent calendar item pulled for further discussion other than item 8? Okay. I'll bring it back to the council for direction.
Move to approve 1, 2, 3, AB 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Durossette,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kline,
Yes.
Councilmember Ryno,
Yes.
and Mayor Vierra.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0-1.
Okay, item number 8, resolution number 2018-019, accepting the service road sewer extension as complete, authorizing the filing of the notice of completion and retention released to the contractor. Councilmember Ryno?
On Service Road between Blaker and Morgan, there were some yellow lines, and it looks like they tried to get rid of them, but they didn't get rid of them completely, so it can be really confusing to people where they should be driving. Is that part of the contractor's responsibility to make sure that it's totally gone and not confusing to drivers?
That is part of their responsibility. However, we do have 2 overlays that are scheduled for this summer to fall. It's going to be covering all of that with fresh new striping and pavement. But if there is some type of a confusion out there, we'll take a look at that for you.
Okay, that's my only question.
Okay, I'll look for direction on that item then.
Move to approve item number 8.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Durossette,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kline,
Yes.
Councilmember Ryno,
Yes.
and Mayor Vierra.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0-1.
All right, thank you. We have no unfinished business this evening, no public hearing. We do have one new business item, resolution number 2018-024, increasing the fees that rotation tow operators may charge for tow service performed under the city's rotation tow program. Mr. Smith.
Yes, this one should be simple. Currently, we have 5 tow companies on our rotation list. We're requesting the authorization to raise our current rates from $190 a day for rotation tow to $220. Storage fees from $45 to $60 a day. Modesto did this in April of 2017. CHP and the Sheriff's Department did it in July of 2016. The only 2 around here that haven't done it is us and Turlock.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions of staff? Okay, at this time, I'll open up to the public. Is there anyone that would like to comment on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the council for direction.
Move to adopt resolution 2018-24.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Durossette,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kline,
Yes.
Councilmember Ryno,
Yes.
and Mayor Vierra.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0-1.
Okay, next we have one discussion item this evening, mobile food vendor discussion. Mr. Wells.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This evening, we had contemplated putting a large presentation together for this, but decided that we'd rather have a conversation and get some direction for me before we spend a lot of time on this conversation for those in the audience. And this council started the conversation about a year ago. We had some people at the dais here asking what the city's stance is on mobile food vendors. And the city has a long history of, in essence, saying no to any mobile food vendors or food trucks or taco trucks, as we may refer to them. And so there's been, in essence, a prohibition across the city on any efforts of having mobile food vendors in the city. So before we went down a path of trying to figure out what that program might look like, we thought the first step would be kind of measuring council's appetite for this conversation before we get too far down the road. So in essence, if you look at it from a spectrum standpoint, we're on the no end of the spectrum, and there's communities all around us that are on the anything goes end of the spectrum. And so from a staff perspective, we're pretty confident council doesn't want to go to the anything goes spectrum, but we do believe there are some opportunities and some programs out there that other cities have put together that may be able to move us just a bit off of the no spectrum. But I need to ask the question first, is council interested in moving off of the no? And if so, then if you're willing to entertain that conversation, then I have some follow-up questions. So I want to stop right there and kind of open the dialogue and the discussion about moving off of no to something a little more permissive, and then we can talk about kind of what those concepts may be if the council is so inclined.
Okay. Let me ask I can ask the question, is there anyone who would object to moving off of the no? No? Okay, so I think the answer is
Perfect.
We're willing to move off of no.
Great. So what staff is contemplated with that idea, that was our hope that you'd be willing to move off of no, is we see this as an opportunity to find a program that helps supplement our brick and mortar buildings. So those folks who have already made an investment or are planning to make an investment in our community with a storefront of a restaurant or some other business, like a tap room or something that has already made an investment in our community, and how can a mobile food vendor support, supplement, and increase that business? Those opportunities are where we think this program should be designed, and also along those ideas of special events and those activities where we can provide a community benefit without impacting those businesses who have already made that investment. I.e., the last thing we would want to do is create a program where a food truck could take away from business of someone who's already invested in our community. So that's kind of the framework that we're looking. We don't believe that we need to go very far in that program. We think we have some tools in some other cities that have created that, but I want to make sure that we're, that we address concerns and issues that the council has about developing that program. So I'd like to hear from council what those might look like. And so just as examples, a couple of the ideas that we've gotten from other cities would be any mobile food vendor would have to have access to a permanent fixed restroom, some kind of contractual arrangement that does that. A business license permit is obvious. Health permits are all kind of standard. And then a number of other criteria about parking spaces and allowances or no allowance for hard surface, i.e. a paved parking lot. It can't be dirt, those type of things. So those are kind of the things that we would be looking at, but I wanted to kind of leave that to council to give us some direction before we put a lot of work into it. What are the concerns, the issues, and then kind of hear from the community what those concerns and issues are so we can put a program together to bring back to council for some action and direction.
Okay, I think the way I'd like to handle this is get some feedback from the council, and then I'd like to open it up to the public to get some feedback from the public so that we can ultimately give you direction to then bring back something that we can discuss and take action on. So with that, at this point, is there anyone on the council that would like to comment on the direction that is being proposed by staff?
I think that's a great start in regards to trying to do some research on this afternoon and looked at it on Sunday a little bit. There's two places, Reading and Anderson, have this same type of a scenario going on, whereas there's a couple days, Fridays and Saturdays from like 5 to 10 at the park, where people can go and they could have the food trucks. They allowed 5 food trucks, all different types of foods, right? We're just not talking taco trucks, but pizza truck and barbecue. And, it's a place that they could take their family to on a Friday or Saturday, or it could be another day. Because then what happens is if you want to go out and get a great meal and you want to take your kids there, right? And your kids can't act like kids, and really you as adults have a hard time acting like adults. And so I'm looking at, they do this at the park, right? Or we use Whitmore, this park right over here, and be able to have that access. I don't think we go with the full-blown, food trucks on Mitchell Road, 24 hours a day. I don't think that's good for Ceres, and I don't like the way it looks. Obviously, if you drive down Crow's Landing, you can see that. It is important, obviously, to have, restrooms, as you stated. I'll use Blaker Brewery as an example. I talked with the owners of that place, and we had talked about food trucks where that will help jumpstart their business in regards to bringing people there, just not to have their drinks, but also to be able to have some sort of a nice dinner. And I know they've done some things here in the past. But I think we're losing out in regards to if we don't do something, the other people around, we have people going, and when they go to Turlock or they go to Modesto to get whatever food vending that they're trying to get, they're buying gas, or maybe we'll go shop and get some shoes because I'm already there. It'd be nice to find some way to keep them here to a certain degree. But
Okay.
Well, I would agree that we should do a special event for the food trucks. I don't know about every Friday and Saturday, because then I think you're going to be taking away from our brick and mortar, and I don't want to see us take away from the brick and mortar.
it was like every other Friday, only for like 3 months. So it's kind of very similar to what we do with the
Concerts in the park.
concerts in the park, yeah. I agree with you, though.
Well, I know that Manteca's done it, but they do it once a month, and they do it in their big community park. And then they have food trucks that come from Sacramento and other places. But again, I can see doing that with a special permit. And I don't know that we want to put a condition that they would have to have access to a bathroom, because then again, they could potentially be on some other street and some business that isn't a food place, like a car lot could say, hey, I've got a bathroom, you want to set up here, and I don't want to see that happen. Again, I could see for a special event, even once a month, maybe at the park during the summer, but we need to be really careful that we don't do anything to hurt the businesses that have, their business going on right now.
Well, I'm in agreement. I mean, when it comes to special events, I'd put a stipulation in there. It's not during the street fair, because, that's a lot of our nonprofits that are making money, for their clubs or their services. So I would limit it and make sure that was blacked out. I'd limit the vendors and the selection, where you don't get a multitude of taco and burrito trucks, but you do have a selection you can have. I'd like to see it where it'd be limited locations. So we can either pick, like Councilmember Durossette said, maybe Whitmore Park, or, we have it, in limited locations. And if we restrict it to maybe once a month or whatever, but it's restricted to a location, even if we rotate this location. The other thing I have a concern with is the hours of service. Are we going to allow it 7 days a week, or, a Friday, Saturday? Hours of service, lunchtime only. I mean, lunch through dinner. We're going to have it where they can serve some breakfast. Things like that. So, I don't want them open 24/7. I would like to look at the hours of service. That's all I have right now.
Okay. I echo some of the same comments. I don't necessarily want a free-for-all, but I do want to open it up. I would like to see some type of criteria for the licensing or whatever. And I would also like the provision for special events, not just to be the things that first come to mind when you think of a special event. And I'll give you an example. I know at the Gallo facility, I believe it's every Thursday, it might be every Friday, I don't know exactly what day, during lunchtime, once a week, they allow a different food truck to pull up in front of their business and put signs up and serve lunch to any of the employees that want to come out there. Now, this is a tremendous benefit that the Air District sees, because now it's keeping all of those people from having their daily trip or average daily trip from where they're working downtown, where they turn the car on, they idle it and everything else. So there are some inherent benefits to doing that. And so and I don't know if we've been requested this, but if we have a large business like G3 or somebody that would come to us and say, hey, we have a program, we'd like to model after what we're doing at Gallo, where every Thursday we invite, and these are food trucks that come, these are high-end food trucks. They're not ones that are, that look like they haven't had a bath in 3 years. These look like they're, $100,000 food trucks that somebody's invested in. And I think it's something that I can support doing, because I think there's some tremendous air quality benefits, and it's something that I think we should do. So, and you wouldn't classify that as a special event, but if a business is willing to come in and petition for that, and I don't know if there's a nominal fee or something that we allow them to do that, and that way they're not roaming along everywhere. They're just going to that facility that every once a week on that specific day for a window of time that may be from 11:30 to 1:30 or whatever. I would be supportive of that, or some provision along those lines. So with that, I'm going to open it up to the public. I'm sure there's plenty of people that would like to comment on this, and we'll take that feedback, and then we'll let staff chew on it a little bit and see if they can bring us back something.
I've seen a lot of industrial areas where they have. I've only one place in Sacramento industrial complex had 3 food trucks, and they were not your old hadn't had a bath. They were bathed frequently, and there was one that was a taco truck. There was one that was served nothing but sandwiches, and then one truck served salads, sandwiches, whatever you wanted, they had it. And it was a big truck, and they had awnings out and everything. And I asked about it, and this was probably 10 years ago, and they said, man, that truck was swamped every day at noon in this business area. They were there, these 3 or 4 food vendors were there in different, not right close to each other, but different areas, so that people in the whole business complex were able to get a different thing every day, 5 days a week. And I thought that made a lot of sense. If you're going to go somewhere out by UPS or somewhere where there's a lot of people that at noontime, they either got to get in their car and drive somewhere, or they pack their lunch and or whatever. But I think that would be a great thing to think about, is that you pick locations where there's no restaurants in there that are going to be affected, and these food trucks can come in and you can rotate them in. I don't know. It's going to take some planning, but it's going to give everybody in the food truck industry an opportunity to come and put their hand out and say, here's what we've got to offer. And you can say, well, clean your truck up and pass the health inspection and all that, and we'll think about you. Or you'll know the ones that are really top drawer. You'll know them, you'll see them. There's one that I saw down there in Sacramento. I think it was called Sergeant somebody. He's a Marine, retired Marine, and he had been, part of his duties was a cook. And so he decided to put that to work. And he went out and got one truck. And in a few years, he had like 6 of them. So there's an opportunity for a lot of different people to make some money and bring some money to Ceres. Thank you.
Dave Pratt. I know you talked about breweries. It's like downtown Modesto. There's 2 brew houses close and next door to each other. One has food and one doesn't. Guess which one gets the most customers? But have you talked to the local establishments, what they're taking as far as having these mobile vendors? Another thing, you know, a lot of those, they set up in places where there isn't a whole lot of food. That's another, like Save Mart, they invested quite a bit to set up their deli and stuff, and some of the other ones are invested in that stuff, and to see if you have a taco truck or any of the mobile vendors park in those areas. My feeling is that before you decide on this, you ought to talk to the local vendors and see what they're feeling. And there is, you know, there's industrial sections that probably could use a few of these trucks now and then because there's not much in the areas, but they have to drive a bit. But that's my feeling. Thank you.
Paula Redfern. Well, first of all, Ceres actually already has a food truck that goes and hits the industrial areas like Rockefeller and stuff like that. They're allowed to go through those areas, park for their breaks, and then they take off. They can't be stationary for more than 15 minutes per the zoning code. As far as I know right now, there's only one. But doing what you're talking about, particularly on like a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, that's our local brick and mortars. That's their biggest days to serve families. People go out on a Friday night, a Saturday night, Sundays after church with their families. So you're going to be taking money, granted it's a variety, but you're going to be taking that money away from the people that are paying a lot more money and have a lot more invested in this community than somebody who has a mobile business that can just take it and go. The other problem is, if you limit it to certain areas, the problem you have, and I speak from experience, they decide they want to say they get limited to an industrial area. Well, they decide, well, you know what, I'm going to try over here, and they'll set up in a parking lot. Ceres has nobody to enforce that. There's all kinds of itinerant vendors that are doing business right now, be it strawberries, phone cells, flowers, whatever, and nobody is enforcing it. You don't have the manpower to enforce it. So if you add this, you're opening up yet another thing that Ceres can't enforce. And that's all I'm going to say.
Sheila Brandt. As far as industrial areas, I have to agree with that. You know, maybe have one or two food trucks that can be in the different industrial areas, because those people are pretty stuck where they're at if they have a half-hour lunch, and that would probably be good. But I like the fact of having special use permit type thing when we have special events in town, like concerts in the park, or I know in Sacramento they have certain nights during the summer that they have all these different food vendors. And I mean, these are like really nice food vendors coming out, and they just make it a community event. I don't think we're going to compete that much with our brick and mortar restaurants. I personally have talked to a few of those people, and they're not against it, because they say, well, if a food vendor comes that's, let's say, barbecue, for instance, we don't have one of those here in town. We don't have a barbecue place we can go to. So it's not going to affect someone like, let's say, Sam's Cafe, that's open on, you know, during Monday or 7 days a week, only in the morning for breakfast and lunch. That's not going to bother them to have a food vendor on Friday and Saturday night, let's say once a month or something, that their food maybe barbecue or Asian cuisine or whatever. So I think that's something we're really missing out. It's funny that this was brought up, because Lee and I were just talking about that last week. It just seems like that's an avenue that we're really missing out on, because that seems to be the thing that everyone, all the different communities are doing now. And I do not mean like sleazy food vendors to where they sit and line up down the street. That's not even what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Good evening, Renee Ledbetter, representing the Ceres Chamber of Commerce. We are very excited to see this on your agenda tonight, and obviously we are supportive of the idea of having food trucks for special events. We'd like to see it as part of the concerts in the park and maybe some other events that we bring to the city. But I agree with the others. If you're going to allow it in any place, I would encourage the industrial areas. I have talked to businesses out in the Miller industrial area, and sometimes those guys don't have time to drive across town and grab lunch. So if you're looking at that type of service, I think it would benefit the employees who work here in Ceres. But we're very excited. Again, we do not want to see day-to-day competition with our brick and mortar restaurants. We've got some really great restaurants, especially now downtown. We've got Pastas Pronto, thanks to that guy right there, and you know, we're looking at some other restaurants that are soon to be opening up, and we definitely want to support those restaurants. But I too would like to see something in the industrial areas if possible. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Lee Brandt. My concern would be the maintaining of it. Police department, they're going to have to patrol the area, and the litter. You know, just making sure that these trucks, I mean, I don't care what and you guys are going to make the decision anyway, and I know this is just opening Pandora's box or however they put, you know, just the starting of it. But something I would just like to see is a stipulation about cleanliness and how it's going to be maintained and or patrolled.
Ramandeep Binder, and I think the idea here is to bring more business to our community, bring more dollars, and I support our local business, and having the your food trucks, that business too, because it's a great opportunity. Maybe having a rotating schedule so it provides other food vendors to have an opportunity. Why not just open it to everybody? I mean, even if the restaurants, if they want to have a special place in the industry area, give them the chance to. So it's you know, we're living in a capitalist society. Everybody wants a share in it. So maybe having a rotating schedule, permits, and whatever else needs to be put in. So that's my thought on that.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I like your idea about with the air quality. Also, too, it might have a small effect on traffic, lunchtime traffic. You have places out like someone mentioned UPS that bring a little less traffic on the road. Might even have a small effect on the trash too, the fast food trash that gets laying around because the trucks will have their own trash facilities. So overall, that's another pro.
Okay.
Don Donaldson. Taco trucks, I don't stop and get a taco. I don't. Every day you spend $7 on a taco truck, that's $35 a week. That's $70, that's $140 a month. You save that up, a couple of years you got enough to put a down payment on a house, and there you go. My wife always fixed my lunch for me. So don't use that as an excuse for somebody. I mean, a taco truck could be down there for special occasions, that's fine. You know what I mean? But if you want a good meal, you go over to Cost Less and get 3 New York steaks for $6, and it's less than the taco truck. So special occasions out there at Smyrna Park, because that's all that's out there anyway on Saturday and Sunday. And it'd be a lot easier for them to have tacos on a taco truck than going down and having something else. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, I'll bring it back to the council. A couple of comments I would make based upon what I heard out there. One, I'd like to see if whatever we put in place, that we maybe have a reassessment at the end of the first year to see how things are going. I would also like to see that, I heard some comments about, trash and so perhaps we look at something that's a permit process, that anybody who wants to have the food trucks have to go through that, a pretty rigorous permit process that identifies their responsibilities for trash pickup and other things. And then I got to thinking, I heard a comment about, well, we don't have enough code enforcement to be able to do it. Well, police have to look at everything if somebody comes into town anyway, but if we really want to make it easy, perhaps we come up with a large sticker that's maybe 24 inches that has a City of Ceres seal on it or something, and we identify that they have to put it in a specific place on the vehicle if they're going to operate in town. And when we drive by, if you don't see the sticker, we know that you're not permitted, or something along those lines. So kind of be creative in that, so that it isn't such a big deal. And if we know who we have that's permitted, then hopefully that makes it a little easier. So those are just a few things that, as you're kind of putting together the program, you might want to consider and look at. So were there any other comments, their direction we wanted to give staff on this?
I'd like to see something in regards to how many feet you can be away from another restaurant. Obviously, some places have it be 1,000 feet or whatever that would be. And then, obviously come back with what the permit cost would be. What is it going to cost the vendor? And I'd also like to have that same thing you had talked about, like in a year, come back to it. But if somebody's not picking their garbage up, or if they're not doing their due diligence, we just rip their sticker off and they're done.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I like the sticker idea.
Any other comments? All right, does that give you the direction you need?
Absolutely. So likely we will put together a program, bring it back, probably another discussion item with the outline of it, and then before we put it in place, we'd likely do a pilot program or something along those lines, but we'll get to work and get that scheduled for a future council meeting.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to council member referrals. Is there anyone on the council that would like to have an item placed on a future agenda? Hearing none, we'll move to reports. I have nothing to report. Councilmember Ryno?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Kline?
No, nothing.
Councilmember Durossette?
Nothing.
Okay, so then we'll move Ms. Dean? Okay. Tom?
Me either.
Mr. Wells?
A couple of update items. The Centennial Committee continues to meet. We had a great meeting here at the council chambers last month now, but the Centennial Committee will be stepping into the next phase of the year of celebrations. So the gala coming up on the 23rd. The Centennial Committee meets tomorrow at 5 o'clock here in the Community Center. We'll be planning and getting details together for the gala that is on the 23rd at 6:30 here in the Community Center. The TOT Committee continues to meet. The next meeting will be on the 20th. That meeting is at 6 o'clock. And then also wanted to have a shout out to our friend of the council, Don Cool, and his artist spotlight that'll be here at the council in the Community Center on the 22nd at 5:30. We'll be showing some of his pictures off that he has generously donated a lot of pictures to this community. There's a lot of his pictures on our website, as well as pictures that he took of the Centennial celebration last month. So I want to make sure we give him proper credit for all the work that he does on the photography side of things. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Westbrook?
The general plan EIR update process is underway. The EIR is out for its public review and comment, and that comment period ends at 5 p.m. on March 26th, so there's 2 more weeks for that. Also wanted to let you know that the Chamber of Commerce is having their Pancakes and Politics breakfast on March 23rd. It's free to attend, but you do have to pre-register, so if you haven't let Diane know you want to attend, please do so.
Okay. Jordan?
Mr. Mayor, we continue to get positive comments on 4th Street, and just a little update. We've applied a couple backgrounds to 2 of the 5 letters on the north end of 4th Street, at the Ceres letters there, to give a little bit more reflectivity at night, to address some of the concerns they've had about the lighting down there. So if anybody that's here tonight or the council will get a chance to look at that, please give us some feedback on that. It's been positive so far. Also, one of the faces of the clock downtown is not keeping time, and we have somebody looking into that to get that fixed. So.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Smith? Mr. Collins? Ms. McCoy? Nothing? All right. Supervisor DeMartini? Nothing? Okay. Well, with that, we will go ahead and adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be Monday, March 26th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
I like that. No closed session. Anyway, so.